Autrefois riche de ses forêts, la Côte d'Ivoire a perdu plus de 80% de son couvert forestier en quelques...
Once covered with forest, Côte d'Ivoire lost 85% of its forests due to severe logging, and thus it developed an investment project in the face of such a emergency, and the objective was to preserve and increase the forest stock, all the while improving sources of income for local communities. Since it was implemented, this project put at the heart of its policies the empowerment of rural women, and this means financing activities that generate income. And to this day, over 300 micro-projects were created, basically forest nurseries and reforestation, but also poultry and various other forms of development. I am the president of Benkadi, and I must say that this project helped us a great deal, and we are extremely happy because we go out to work in the morning, and we received this project, and we are now present, and we're very happy. And so we will know. We're very pleased with the results, and very happy to be doing this. My name is Chen Valentine, and this has brought something. It changes life, literally. And Laurent Chagba awarded these heroes of the work in the forest area with a special award for the MALEBI Association under the chairmanship of Delphine, and the group initiated reforestation projects to reconstruct the Ivoirian forest cover. To this day, 80 hectares of teak and acacia were replanted in the registered forest of Aiwa. And that's not all. 125 hectares are further being planned for the same activities, many activities in the field of forestry that women can already contribute to. And as we said, with the government program is to help women take part of an empowerment system, and we will be working within this framework and say loud and clear to the nation and to women that the commitment has been made to help them in the field of forestry and to make sure that the basics of forestry will help us to support them and improve the situation. And in the forest sector, the award for the best actors in defense of the forest goes to the MALEBI Association. And Mrs. Delphine Ahoussi, who is the president of the association, has been chosen to receive this award. So we will start.
The CSAG speakers up to the podium here. May I ask
Au-delà de la
all the speakers
reconstitution de la forêt, le projet d'investissement forestier phase 2 traduit l'engagement de la Côte d'Ivoire pour un avenir durable. Un avenir où les forêts et les femmes grandissent ensemble. Autrefois riche de ses forêts, la Côte d'Ivoire a perdu plus de 80% de son couvert forestier en quelques décennies.
Yes, if you could please sit down. Thank you.
Le projet d'investissement forestier phase 2. Objectif, conserver et accroître le stock forestier tout en améliorant les sources de revenus des communautés locales. Depuis sa mise en œuvre, ce projet a placé au cœur de ses politiques l'autonomisation des femmes rurales. Cela passe notamment par le financement des activités génératrices de revenus. À ce jour, près de 300 micro-projets ont été présélectionnés, dont une part significative est portée par des femmes. Grâce à des activités telles que la création.
Let's hope we have a very productive day. And we will start now. We will start with our plenary.
Présidente, El primer tema que tendremos en esta
So the first topic for us today is a roundtable that has been organized by the Civil Society Advisory Group, Strategies and Experiences on Restoration, Challenges and Learnings. So we would like to invite Mr. Chen in Keong, who will be moderating this session and is the chair of the group. Please go ahead.
Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here for the CSAG, the Civil Society Advisory Group panel discussion this morning. We're very pleased to be here. We've got our various members from the regions here to share with you the knowledge and experience that we have gathered over the years with regards to, and the topic we are talking about is restoration. Basically, restoration strategies and experiences, challenges and lessons from the various regions. We will start because of time factor, but I just want to inform, especially the interpreters, just in case, there's been some reordering of the speakers list, because I will be going first, Chen, followed by Delphine from Côte d'Ivoire, and then Christine from Indonesia, Ximena from South America, and then Danielle for Cameroon, followed by Lydia at the end for Togo. Thank you very much. To start, I will be giving the first presentation. The ladies were very kind to nominate me to start first, so I will do that from the podium, I believe, and then we will follow with the other presentations next. And I look forward to a lively discussion, if possible, with everyone here in the room. Thank you. Right, good morning everyone again. My topic that I'm going to present is about sustainable use strategies and experiences in restoration. I'm with Traffic. Excuse me while I sort out. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just a bit slow, that's all. Oh, okay, thank you. Right, what I will do is to share with you an overview, basically, of the work that we've been doing with regards to sustainable use in the restoration context. Now, it's very important to note that it goes hand in hand, restoration and sustainable use, not only conservation and protection. Now, I want to introduce some of the projects we've been working on to support sustainable use in restoration and to share with you some tools and resources that we have been using or developing. Oops. Sorry, just a little bit slow today, the system. Now, for all of you who do not know about Traffic, just very briefly, Traffic is a non-profit organization that works on wildlife trade with a mission to ensure that trade in wild species is both legal and sustainable. We've been working for the last 50 years, so we are already middle-aged, if you're talking about human terms, on this particular topic. And we have a large body of work that we've been working on over the years on species and conservation and trade. And we would like to share with you some of those results today as well. Now, Why is it important to integrate sustainable use in restoration? In a way, it is quite a new topic, actually. Now, everyone is trying to get on to the topic to understand and to see how they can work together on these particular issues. Now, it might be a bit challenging as well. Now, we have to see how nature restoration is about rethinking how to live sustainably and in harmony with nature. That's very important, sustainability and harmony. Ensure that restored habitats remain so in the long term with a rational approach to the dependence of human beings on natural resources. And we are highly dependent, even here in this very developed world that we lived in Japan here. While there will always be some areas that need a very high level of protection, that's why we have national parks. In general, we cannot pursue a conservation model that separates humans from the natural world. And we are part of the ecosystem too. That is why we need to work together and in harmony with nature. Now, just a context, just to place in context here, there's this particular report that was done, the IPBES, that is the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. Their report on sustainable use of wild species found that 1 in 5 people rely on wild plants and similar ingredients for their food and income. 1 in 5. That's a lot. That means 1/4 of the people here have direct access or use of the wild plant, or more. It is a huge global trade. The Legal Trade in CITES, which is a convention on international trade in endangered species of wild fauna and flora, in case you do not know, and I think all the parties members here are parties to CITES as a global convention. The legal trade values the CITES listed species, over $220 billion. That includes timber, but also non-timber, forest products, fisheries, and so on. It's a huge trade. Many of these products can be sourced from landscapes undergoing restoration or that have been restored, but also from sustainably managed resource. And that's where we also come in. Now, just a small subset, and this is a very small subset, of the non-timber forest products that have been reported, harvested, have a value of $2 million. That's not much, right, when you talk about timber. But $2 million is still a lot. And he's talking about only one ingredient, let's say. There are many, we have got documentation on that. And this report actually does that as well. It documents a lot. But more importantly as well, or it's equal importance, I should say, is that we need to engage with local communities. This is crucial, I think. The continued access and integrating new opportunities for sustainable use and trade can protect and enhance livelihoods and enable new connections to the landscape. Now, traffic and the landscape restoration. I just want to mention that we've got 3 recent projects which I want to share with you, just to trigger more appreciation, understanding, and hopefully sharing some of the tools that we've got. Now, we are currently partnering the first project with the Botanic Gardens Conservation International, BGCI, the Society for Ecosystem Restoration, and others to develop the global biodiversity standards, because it is important to have a standard that you can then adhere to, or to make sure that you do use that for your implementation on the ground, and for certification as well as possible. This standard aims to recognize and promote the protection, restoration, and enhancement of biodiversity within a range of different landscapes and land management interventions. Now, we have a small role in that for this particular project. The second project is about, developing guidance for restoration practitioners wishing to integrate sustainable use into their landscapes as part of an endangered landscape and seascape funded project. We are working together with Fairwild and the IUCN Sustainable Use and Livelihood Species Group. And the third is a work that we just finished last year with CITES Secretariat to look at rosewood, a specific taxonomic group, very highly valued in the timber trade world. Now, let me start with the Endangered Landscapes and Seascapes Program, the guidance for integrating sustainable trade of wild plants and fungi. Now, when you look at this, I'm not sure whether you can see it, you will see that there are various modules that have been developed. This is a toolkit to help practitioners and the worksheets as well to support sustainable, legal, and ethical trade in wild plants and fungi. Don't forget fungus as well. We eat a lot of mushrooms, right? Of wild species from landscapes undergoing restoration. And you'll notice that we are talking about 6 modules. Starting with, of course, you need to identify what is there on the ground. Then you need to work with the stakeholders that are there, communities, government agencies, private sectors, and so on. You need to have the situational analysis, the module 3. Module 4 is about the species assessment. If you do not know the parameters of which the species grows and where it's found and the range and so on, how are you going to manage it? That's why you need module 5, which is a business plan. Because at the end of the day, you are talking about economic development as well. And then at the end, module 6 is about management. All of you who works on timber will understand this very well. You need to manage your resource, but you manage it for very specific reasons and use. Okay. And then these are some of the worksheets that you can see. To inform the situation analysis, there'll be questions that we ask, and then the examples will be taken note. And this will help to determine sustainable trade in sustainability for the goals of landscape restoration and to identify who could benefit from it. And these are some of the resources that I just want to highlight. You can take a look at it. I think the PowerPoints can be shared later. Okay. And some of the resources that we have got, and some of the assessments that we have done can also be found on our website. Now, move on to the Global Biodiversity Standard. This is working with the Kew Gardens, especially Botanic Gardens. It's an international standard and certification system. It applies the tried and trusted expertise of the global botanical and biodiversity community together, bringing them, all of them together, to actually look at how the standard can be developed and how it can be monitored and implemented. We use the knowledge of all the experts, and there are 900 over, I think if I remember correctly, botanical gardens around the world, and they all can contribute. We provide assurances that the tree planting, there are many, many tree planting projects around the world, but not only that, habitat restoration and agroforestry practices, so it's a whole range of things, are protecting, restoring, and enhancing biodiversity. And the standard has been launched recently at the CBD COP16 in October, just very, very recent. Right? And what it does is, it assesses the projects across the full restoration continuum, and that's why I said full restoration continuum. You can see from this picture, right? We are talking about agriculture, agroforestry, plantations, natural forests as well, protected areas, and so on and so forth. So it's not just for one segment or one sector of the landscape that is being used, because you need to look at it as a whole, holistically, if you really want to talk about landscape restoration and protection and conservation and use. And it works how it works. There's a flow to this. You have the application, and then you'll go through the scoring, assessments, and so on. You can read about it a bit more. But there's a structure to it, because at the end of the day, you need to have the confidence, all of us, including the practitioners, the confidence that your system that you're implementing is done well for reputation, but also for sustainability at the end of the day. And traffic is contributing to the development of criterion 3, because there are various criteria, as I mentioned, right, about project, restore and manage biodiversity in consultation and partnership with local communities and other stakeholders. Right? Technical expertise is being provided on integrating sustainable use principles in both assessment criteria and mentoring resources. At the end of the day, you need to pass on the experience, the knowledge, and it's not enough to just do it in theory. You really need to handhold and to mentor people to make sure they can do the job well, and you have confidence that they will be able to do the job well. And the third case study that I just want to mention briefly is about support for sustainable harvest of CITES-listed rosewood tree species. Rosewood is one of the most highly valuable species that are being used, timber-producing species. Now, we have done a study on the overview for this particular group of species, taxonomic group, under the CITES Secretariats and the CITES work on non-detriment finding. This is a crucial understanding, a crucial framework that looks at sustainability and the use of species that are listed under CITES. We have partnered with them to produce a study that will contain data and case studies relevant to the production of NDFs, non-detriment findings, for rosewood, which are in demand for their high value, especially in the Far East, but also elsewhere. And there are various criteria. There are many criteria that may not relate directly to restoration, but there will be. And one of the, and some of the fact sheets that we produce basically looks at the threatened CITES-listed rosewood, but it also includes areas, criteria, frameworks, parameters for the biological, the ecosystems that is found, like the heights, the range of currently used minimum felling diameters, and so on. Not every country actually have regulation for that, but it does. So we have captured it in fact sheets for various countries and various taxonomic groups, and we have got well over 22 case studies. This is only a drop in the ocean because when you talk about rosewood, there are hundreds of species. So there's a lot more gaps and knowledge that needs to be developed and built because we only been able to find good studies basically for 22 case studies. And we need to do more of that. Now, this includes examples of techniques to inventory population and density. You need your basic information, obviously, of population structures, whether it's healthy and whether it's able to regenerate. If it is not able to regenerate, how do you restore? Right? If it cannot grow, there's no way of restoring. So you need the scientists, but also the practitioners, the implementers, to come together, including local communities, based on their knowledge, to come up with what is happening and how to actually overcome the issues. Now, all right. So, if you need any additional information, you can just contact us. It's on the board here and on the slides. But we also include the biography. So you can actually find the links for all the projects I'm talking about and other information, including all the resources and tools. Very fine. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next presentation, we will start first with a video shared from Côte d'Ivoire, if I may, before we move on to the presentation from Delphine.
Autrefois riche de...
Côte d'Ivoire had a great wealth of forest, but lost nearly 95% of its forest capital in a few decades. And so the government of Côte d'Ivoire, with the support of the World Bank, in 2022 decided to create an investment project for the forest stock in Côte d'Ivoire in order to improve the income of local communities as well. Since its deployment, the project placed the empowerment of rural women at the heart of its priorities through the financing of activities generating income. 300 micro projects were pre-selected, and a significant part of these is in fact undertaken by women. The creation of plant nurseries, beehives, and pork My name is Kofi Amwa-Santalan. I am the president of Ben Kadi. This project was of great assistance to us, and when we see what has been done, we're extremely happy because as women, the activity or the work that we perform, we were registered with Binkadi, we received a project, and we're really happy. We began with basically nothing, and now we have something in hand. And we're really happy women. We are truly involved in this and committed, and we see that this is already providing us with income and a good return. So it changes our lives. To pay tribute to these heroes, the Minister of Forest, Laurent Chagba, decided to reward those who were singled out by their level of commitment in the International Day for Rural Women, amongst them the MALEBI Association under the presidency of Delphine Ahoussi, initiated projects for reforestation and reconstruction of the Ivoirian forest cover. To this day, 80 hectares of teak and acacia have been replanted in the Iowa registered forest. And that's not all. 125 more hectares are being replanted, or at least have been planned for it. Many activities are taking place in the forestry area where women can already be committed and make a massive contribution. As we said, the government program, we need to help women be in a system which enables them to achieve empowerment, and we're going to help them, and we want to tell this to the world and to the nation. And so we're going to give the award for the best participant in the defense of forest, fauna, water resources, the MALEBI Association. Mrs. Delphine Ahoussi, who is president of the association, has been designated to receive this award in the area of reforestation. Above and beyond the reconstruction of the forest, the Phase 2 Forest Investment Project expresses the commitment of Côte d'Ivoire for a sustainable future, make it possible for the forest and women to grow together in this environment.
Informative video. And we are very happy to have Delphine Ahoussi, who actually accepted the reward and got the award. The president of MALEBI here with us, and she will share her views and experiences. And she's a focal point for REFACOF in Côte d'Ivoire. Delphine, please.
Merci. Merci, Chen.
Thank you. Thank you, Chen. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Delphine Ahoussi, and I'm going to speak to you about what we do, which we already showed you in the video, and I'll talk to you about what we're doing in Côte d'Ivoire, or Ivory Coast. Now, once in a while I do speak English, but it might sound a bit strange. Bien. So support for the Women's Project for the restoration of deteriorated forest landscapes is the point of my presentation. And in doing this, I will describe the history of MALEBI. MALEBI is an association which is exclusively made up of women, and in 2009, in this room, in fact, I presented the results of the case study concerning modern production of charcoal. And it is my pleasure this morning to be able to thank Japan, because Japan put up the funds for that project with a gift of $50,000. Thank you, Japan. And since 2009, I must say we have made some headway. To this day, we have 60 women's associations, and we have trained over 50,000 people, heads of villages, women, young people, and religious leaders. MALEBI is the only women's association in Côte d'Ivoire with the authorization to manage a forest which has become part of heritage. It's 4,500 hectares of forested area. 2020, a project of forest investment financed by the World Bank was deployed, and thanks to this project, we managed to do reforestations with the help of the communities. That's where we trained over 50,000 people in Côte d'Ivoire in 2020. And until 2021, during COVID as well, we implemented a highly technical project which was being funded by FAO. We had to demonstrate that the charcoal produced by MALEBI using the erosion technology could be traced, and we did manage to trace 80 tons of charcoal. And we have been wedded with the government for 15 years through the Partnership Convention, which was signed with the Forest Development Agency. What are we attempting to do? We want to go forward. We also want to have access to carbon financing. And with Wacom, which is really trying to help us, we want to be able to implement the first project by women and for women on carbon issues. And what do we have at hand? Well, we have a network of women. We have our positive energy to engage in more renewable energy. We have technical experts alongside, and we've already submitted an application to our government to achieve the management of 15,000 hectares of forest. And we are sending out this message to say that we're all together, and if we work together, we can succeed, and we count on you. Thank you.
Thank you, Delphine. Very short and sweet. We have to work together. If not, we cannot succeed. The next presenter will be Professor Christine Wulandari from University of Lampung, FKKM, Indonesia. She will share about her experience and challenges that they are facing in Indonesia. This is just to give you a range in terms of how CSAG and members as well as others are working on the issues, and you can hopefully pick up some of the pertinent points that can help with your deliberation in Council. Thank you.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, Chen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for this opportunity. So as an Indonesian representative, I would like to share actually one of our collaborative research between CSAG or between our FKKM as a member of CSAG with the University of Lampung, where I have a daily activities in my university. So when we talk about reforestation, it's mean we will talk about the aim to return the ecosystem to its original state. I think it is the high effort for us, yeah, not only for the people, but I think also for the government and others. So that's why when we talk about the restoration, we will talk it about from the planting up to the removing and also up to the regulation and marketing actually. So when we talk about this one or this all activities related with the restoration, what actually the women roles or the gender roles in that activities? Here we can slightly, I would like to share also about what the importance of gender equality in forest management. As we know that gender is set a roles, behaviors, activities, and also attributes that considered appropriate for the women and men as equally activities and equally status. Gender also as a different base. When we talk about gender, we should also consider to the sociological and also cultural aspect, not only for the regulation or what the duty of the men and women. So when I have some researchers, the scientific actually have study finding that gender-based task differentiation affect with the forest management. So let's see what actually the gender influence to forest management. According to our colleagues in C4, income from forest management activities account from 1/5 of the total household income of rural family living in around forest, when the gender roles already significant. Women are often excluded from the forest management decision making due to the social restriction. It is the fact in the actual condition. So women participation is actually possible. They have the active roles when the less exclusive institution and have the higher level of the family education and they have the lower economics. Therefore, increasing women's participation in decision making in the various community forest institutions has shown the improvement in forest governance and also resource sustainability. It is one of our improvement in our country right now. How is the gender when we talk about the climate change? According to our friends or our two researchers, that women incomes from managing forests will decline as the climate change affect. And according to them also, the women are more active in managing forests. So natural resource damage tends to be small. And also actually in the facts, women are faster in climate change adaptation. We have also another research with our friends that already talked about this one also, that ownership of the land trust asset will strengthen the position of women in household actually. And Agarwal also have the finding that involvement of women in decision making for management forest in communities has a positive effect in our sustainable forest management. So the paradigm and also practice of gender equality in our forest management actually is the key of our sustainable forest. It is in Indonesia. We just share here the gender roles in forest restoration. In Indonesia, we have 3 roles actually, as a women contribution, as a gender blind restoration, and also gender responsive restoration. But actually, they also have the other roles when they have the domestic activities, socio-political activities, and also in the peatland activities. So it is our data based on our how much or how large our forest that must be have the reforestation, because we have some data. It is about the Indonesia deforestation rate. According to our ministry, it is actually the last our ministry name, yeah, because right now we already divided our Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Forestry. Our data in 1990, actually the minister have analyzed that deforestation rate in Indonesia generally decline in the recent years. And according to them, our decrease right now, it is approximately decrease around 1.9 million per hectare per year in 1996 and around 113,000 hectare per year in 21st-22. So that's why in our current condition, I mean in this situation, 22-23, deforestation is in primary and secondary forests in Indonesia, total 133,833 hectares. So after accounting the forest plantation, the net actually 101,103 hectares. How about Indonesia case related with the reforestation activities? We have 3 provinces. For the one, this is Nusa Tenggara province. According to our friend as a researcher, we have the role woman in the restoration and the one of our forest farmer. We can see the aspect what the gender role here. In the level of forest management, we have the women involvement 57.14%. When they have role in community institutional, they have 35%. And when the business product, they have around 28%. And East Java province, we have also another research. It is about the role men and the women when they have the forest management activities. But it's still dominated by the men. It's around 65.9%. So here in our East Java province, it should have the good also listened, but it is about the bridge sectoral, social, and also cultural barrier to gender relation, but it must be do not let relation have a role in justice. And how about in my province? Actually, in Province Lampung, we have the more deep of data. It is about the Y kilo microvector set model in Pesawaran Regency. In 2020, actually gender roles in this area have increased around 45 because the type activities they were increasingly diverse. And also they have increase in gender roles about the domestic activities, particularly in Manisafik, because previously it is dominated by the men. And also we have increased 14% about gender roles when we have the control of actual natural resources. And also for the role, another role, it is still same. It is also the internal and external factors that affecting our gender roles with our research. Internal, we have 4 factors. It is the women perception of themselves, women knowledge on forest sustainability, forest utilization rates, and also family social status. And the external factor, we have 2. It is about the community perception. Another one, the length time of the husband becoming member of the farmer groups. And the specific gender roles that we found in our research, it is the village community institution have reached 22%. The prospect of gender roles in supporting of the income is increased around 7 to 10% per month, and gender roles reach 53% in waste, recycling, and environmental sanitation effort. So here we have the best practices actually. The first one is the gender roles made up 40% agroforestry management and customary land and also the private, and we have increased generated income. Another one, we have also the ratio roles of the women and women, it is already increased here. We have the 47, before it's around only 40%. So our conclusion is the involvement of women in decision making for managing forests has had positive effects on a range of sustainable forest management issues included in reforestation. So the paradigm and practice of the gender equality and our forest restoration is the key of the sustainable forest management. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Very informative presentation. I think we can all agree. Gender, women still have a long way to go, but they are making progress. But step by step. Well, it would be good if we can make it a big leap, and hopefully council members can help bring back the message to your governments to make that leap happen even faster. But the key takeaway from me, even though while women's role should and definitely need to be increased when it comes to decision making and forest management and processing and selling as well for the income. the balance between men and women, husband and wife, I think is going to be crucial. It's not a one side will resolve the issues and challenges we are facing. We need to work together as couples, as families, especially in rural communities, but also everywhere. Thank you. So the third presentation, or the fourth, we will move on to South America. And Ximena Buitron from Fairwild will be giving us her views and sharing her knowledge and experience with regards to restoration in South America. Ximena, please.
Gracias, Chen. Buenos.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for giving me the opportunity to make this presentation. I represent Fairwild, and we work with a standard for collection of natural resources, and we have a certification system. However, what we're going to share with you today is some experiences we've had for initiatives that may not be the work of Fairwild, but they have been shared by colleagues from other countries. And these are colleagues that we give support to, or they give support to us, and they work with the communities and different civil society groups. For Bolivia, we have two experiences that have been very interesting, and we have had some challenges in restoration, and through these experiences we have been protecting very valuable species like the one you can see here on the left, the tajibo or trumpet tree. You can see that these are CITES listed species, and we have this fig tree on the right that have very important meaning for other species and other habitats. So through these communities we have managed to train people and to re-establish certain habitats, both urban and rural, to highlight the importance of these species. For Bolivia, the government requests that at least 10% of the territory covered by the project is included. So the government has restoration plans for ecosystem, and in this case it's outside of protected areas. And in some initiatives have been focusing on buffer areas. So the municipalities coordinate with the government in order to increase capacity to have nurseries in the community in order to be able to reforest. And we are working with this community of approximately 40 families near a protected area, and they are working and reforesting these native species like the tajibo, the trumpet tree I mentioned earlier, and the results have been quite interesting already. We started in 2019, and you can see that we have certain activities where you can see restored gardens in the city centers, but these are cities and communities that are in urban areas, and they have been identified. So we have productive landscapes, like for example we have, for this particular project, we have ecotourism that has been selected for this project, and it has been a very interesting experience. Men, women and children have participated in this project, but we have seen especially the participation of women, which has led to great empowerment for them in these productive landscapes. I've changed slightly the presentation, but I'm saying more or less what it says there. However, I wanted to show you also another experience that we have done in Bolivia. This is the old presentation I had sent. Could you please project the new presentation? This is my old presentation. I would like to see the new presentation I have sent to you, please.
Oh, está bien.
It's okay. In order not to lose time, I'll continue with this one. Well, I wanted to present other experiences that we've had in Bolivia, applied in different areas. You will have seen that in our regions we have suffered wildfires, and some of the challenges in these communities is how to carry out a restoration in these areas where there has been wildfires, and how that restoration concept could be perceived as something that doesn't go beyond reforestation. So one of the challenges that has been identified is how we can obtain more information and how we can have clear parameters of what the effect has been on these ecosystems after the reforestation, once we have obtained information about these areas, something that is not necessarily known by the community. And then how after a wildfire there is a natural impact that needs to be assessed in order to implement correct policies outside the protected areas. And sometimes when we have protected areas, we assume that there will be a regeneration, a natural regeneration and restorations in the landscapes. However, this should be guaranteed also in buffer zones. And we also have to see how the species are recovering within these areas that have been affected by wildfires, because they may not be regenerating at the expected rates, and not only the trees but also vines or climbers, so that we give space for trees to grow as well. So we have some areas where we have species that have been planted on pastures, and then we don't have the space for other species or other native species to grow, and these are species that are very important for the ecosystems. And that is why it is very important for us to treat this in a holistic way, so that we know which measures to apply and to direct our actions, so that we have a more holistic and sustainable forest management.
In Brazil, for instance, we also have other initiatives and different challenges, and the restoration projects support the maintenance or the protection of social biodiversity, and what are the strategies being used in order to face the challenges. So this kind of restoration is an essential strategy to revert the environmental impacts. Socio-biodiversity is a concept created in Brazil that takes into account ecological and socio-cultural dimensions, recognizing the role of human communities in nature conservation. So these programs go beyond restoring degraded ecosystems. They seek to reestablish ecological functions to ensure that local human populations can maintain traditional and sustainable practices. However, the implementation of ecological restoration faces significant challenges, especially when combined with the protection of socio-biodiversity, taking into account the human population. Some of the conflicts identified in Brazil are conflicts between economic interests and also the conservation of the environment, especially when we look at agricultural land being expanded and economic interests in some important places where there is a conversion towards monocultures, and this diminishes the efforts in restoration and conservation. There's also been fragmentation and loss of ecological connectivity, which is having creating this fragmentation that this does not allow for natural regeneration of the species, and also the ecological corridors that are essential. So it faces the challenges related to land availability, high costs, and local resistance in areas occupied by economic activities. For instance, in the Atlantic forest, this is one of the most fragmented biome of Brazil that has only 12% of its original coverage. There are projects such as the Pact for the Restoration of the Atlantic Forest that are an example of how this is being dealt with in order to restore ecological connectivity. Also facing huge challenges due to urban expansion and human occupation, especially in the metropolitan region of São Paulo. Another challenge has been the valuation of traditional knowledge and local practices. We know that traditional communities, as other presenters have said, play a crucial role in protecting socio-biodiversity. Their practices and their knowledge is often marginalized, unfortunately. It has been recognized that there are ways in which this knowledge could be included in restoration projects. There still need to be institutional and cultural changes to achieve this. We have some communities that know how to manage agroforestry, contributing to restoration. However, many of these practices have been disregarded in restoration programs. That priority has been given to technical approaches. Local movements have sought to reverse this scenario. However, this still remains a significant barriers. And there are challenges that have to do with climate change and environmental unpredictability. This makes it difficult to restore certain species, and it makes success of interventions less likely. Extreme weather events, droughts, floods can destroy restored areas and limit their development. For instance, in the semi-arid region of the northeast of Brazil, restoration efforts have been hampered by periods of extreme drought and also floods. These initiatives, like the programs for recovery of degraded areas, face challenges when it comes to selecting native species that could withstand future climate conditions. The projects then become more expensive and more risky. Another challenge, the financial and governance constraints. We know that ecological restoration needs a significant investment, and this is not always available. When there is a lack of integration of public policies and also institutional fragmentation, it's difficult to coordinate large-scale actions. There are certain environmental programs that want to restore degraded areas on rural properties. However, the lack of financial resources and adequate monitoring has delayed implementation. And it's been very difficult to carry out this monitoring, especially in states such as Mato Grosso and Pará. Many of these initiatives depend on international funding, and this is not always sustainable for what is needed in restoration projects. Then there's another challenge, the long-term monitoring and evaluation. We know how important monitoring is. It's crucial in ecological restoration projects. However, without proper funding, it's impossible to validate, evaluate, or change the intervention strategies when needed. Without a proper monitoring, a continuous and systematic monitoring, it's not possible. The lack of resources, tools, and specific policies are some of the factors that limit this practice. So the topic is gaining increased attention, this topic of financing, but we can see that restoration projects that should be monitored over decades really need an injection of investment and sustainable investment. Otherwise, the ability to adapt strategies and ensure lasting results is compromised. There's a project in Brazil where we can see all these challenges. Aguas do Cerrado. It aims to restore springs in the federal district. It has had good results, but there is a lack of financing and human resources. The limitations in the use of technology and also low integration of local actors. It's something that happens in all our countries. All these challenges we face are challenges we all face. And Brazil has been participating in something really exemplary. It's created networks of restoration or pacts for restoration, where you have all the different sectors and institutions working together, all the stakeholders working together so they can achieve the commitments, the restoration commitments in a holistic manner. So there's been restoration of different biomes like the Atlantic forest plants, and there are very important species that are being the focus has been on very important species in the restoration of the Pantaland, for instance. There are also other networks in the Amazon and Caatinga. They all have their own impacts, their own activities, and as you can see on the screen, these are very ambitious, very challenging, but this is a way to work together in a holistic manner to achieve positive results between the different stakeholders and also with the support of governments. And then some of the experiences coming from Ecuador that we would like to share. All our countries have their national plans and their own strategies for landscape restoration. And these strategies somehow are being supported by different projects of international cooperation and civil society. Some of these projects are on their way with a contribution of governance and articulation, so that we can identify the best indicators, best scenarios, and promote public policy within the framework of the restoration plans. Despite all these programs, in many of our countries, the concept of restoration has not yet taken hold, and very often it doesn't go beyond reforestation initiatives. So what's the difference between having useful species and having a real recovery of ecosystems? So what would be the real objectives of the restoration? And is it working better in pilot projects, in small-scale projects, where you can see initiatives with good results? But when we look at restoration, we know that it's very expensive, and scaling it up becomes very complicated. Having projects that are much wider with millions of hectares becomes very difficult, and also sustaining this through times becomes a huge challenge. So it might work with projects of 1 to 25 hectares, but not beyond. It becomes too big a challenge. So there is a need to look at these microhabitats and looking at the type of degradation experienced there. Not all are the same, so we must understand this fully so that we can have actions that imply lesser costs and also more work with local governments, with academia, with local groups, so that we can face these challenges together with the local communities in order to restore native species that have a commercial value. And the difference between a conservation landscape and a productive landscape is very important, because if we, at a local level, they want more productive landscapes and lands, then there's a big potential there, a big potential to manage bigger conservation landscapes. So there has to be more stress in productive landscapes so that these pilot projects can be duplicated elsewhere. And what's the message or how are we carrying out this holistic restoration or restoration efforts? We must position the concept of restoration in a holistic manner with tools, and also the tool for landscape management, for soil, also good practices in the different environments, and how this affects the social aspect, the environment when it comes to food, nutrition, and also improving livelihoods. Financing is once again a worry. Funding becomes a worry to see how we can really preserve biodiversity, also monitoring the conservation programs and making sure they're sustainable in the long term.
Entonces,
so these are experiences that we share amongst our countries, and we have very similar situations. There might be different positions and different concepts and scales and challenges and lessons learned. The national plans and strategies must be supported by other projects and local initiatives. We have common objectives: zero expansion of the agricultural frontier and zero deforestation. And I will mention Fairwild and their vision, and how throughout the years we can see this coming together of nature, people, and business, and we can do it in a holistic manner. In many of these projects, certification becomes a very useful tool with taking all this into account to respond to challenges. And I think the presentations will be shared, so you'll be able to look at these case studies, looking at the impact that these projects have had. And thank you so much to all the countries who shared with us their challenges and lessons learned. Thank you.
Thank you, Ximena. Very rich presentation of information challenges, but also possible solutions, as you can hear. Let's move on to Danielle Ramiaranmanana. She's a focal point for REFACOF in Madagascar, but she's presenting on Cameroon because our Cameroon representative, Cecile Jebet, could not make it here today. So please, Danielle.
Thank you, Dr. Chen. Ok, je vais parler ici donc des stratégies.
So I'm going to speak to you here about the strategies and experiences and challenges, the lessons learned in Africa. And as Chen said, I'm going to focus on Cameroon since Dr. Fosefin Jebet was unable to attend and make the presentation himself. So I will follow the plan. A few words about REFACOF and a series, 3 initiatives that were deployed in Cameroon in the course of the last 3 years, main challenges and lessons learned, and conclusions and recommendations. REFACOF was created in May 2009 in Yaoundé. Its mission was to promote the rights of women in Africa and to influence policies and practices for gender equity in the field of land and forest tenure. We defined 5 strategic axes for this: consolidation and institutional strengthening of the network, promotion of equitable tenure, reforms and advocacy to influence agendas and initiatives on land and forest tenure on a sub-regional, regional, national scale, and the development of policies thereabouts. The different countries of West Africa, Central Africa, and Madagascar created this organization with a governing structure with 3 statutory bodies: General Assembly, a regional conference, national focal point meetings, and we have national general assemblies and national team bureaus with the focal points. So now I'm going to speak to you about the 3 initiatives undertaken by Cameroon. The first one was a partnership with BASE, which is Building Approaches to Fund Local Solutions with Climate Evidence. It is an initiative coordinated by AVINA, its main objective being to increase the resilience of rural women in the face of climate change and to evolve activities in the framework of these initiatives to give support to the creation and follow-up of nurseries and other agroforest parcels or lots, technical training, organizational training, institutional and managerial skill development for rural women involved in the project. The results of this first initiative, well, we had 3 workshops, technical training workshops, which were set in motion. Around 50 women took part in this. 40 women and 2 men were trained on the manufacture of organic fertilizers. Parcels were mapped and delimited for a surface of approximately 38 hectares, and propagators were deployed in the 3 villages, and the basic point being to plant 15,000 fruit-bearing trees. The second aspect, the second initiative, was biodiversity, Women for Biodiversity, aiming to reinforce the approaches for the restoration of sensitive ecosystems with regard to gender in the national objectives and international commitments, all the while contributing to the relevant political debates, focusing more specifically on women's issues because of their involvement. Main activity of this initiative, Women for Biodiversity, led to the development of a study concerning the legal analysis of a strategic and national plan for biodiversity linked to the Convention on Biological Diversity in Cameroon, and analysis of the level to which gender is taken into account in the biodiversity policies in Cameroon. Also, organization of participative training on gender, climate change, and biodiversity. And the third was the restoration of degraded areas of mangrove. The results achieved with this partnership with Women for Biodiversity. First of all, documentation of the role of gender in biodiversity policies, strengthening of data capacity and of knowledge of women concerning mechanisms related to biodiversity, training sessions. About 100 people were trained on biodiversity, gender, and climate change. 33 were trained on restoration techniques, and over 5,000 plants were made available and deployed in the area. Also, we had a partnership with GLPEH, the purpose of which being to improve the ability of women to face up to climate change and develop agroforestry strategy. So Initiative 3 was deployed in 3 areas of the country, south, coastal, and west. And as a result, approximately 600 members of various communities were involved in the initiative, of which approximately 400 received training. We also had training and awareness-raising sessions on gender, climate change and its impact, the role of local communities, particularly women and young people. 15 technical training sessions were organized in situ over a series of various topics, and 60,000 trees were produced in 16 community nurseries. What were the main challenges and what were the lessons learned from these 3 initiatives? The main challenge was climate change, which acts as a disruptor of agricultural seasons and leads to extreme temperatures, also access of women and young people to land and access to financing to pay for expert services to give effective support to communities involved in the project. And the lessons that we could draw from these initiatives is that there is a genuine commitment of the communities in general concerning the need to improve resilience in the face of the negative impacts of climate change. And these communities have produced evidence and proof that it is possible for them as communities to have a direct access to climate financing. And a third main lesson drawn is that the negative impacts of climate change have improved gender relations. Men and women have understood that they equally suffer from negative climate impacts, and that it's high time to facilitate access to both genders. And I conclude with these conclusions and recommendations that community restoration initiatives with a high promotional level should be undertaken in several member countries of REFACOF, which are a good illustration of the high involvement of women and young people in restoration of degraded landscapes in Africa. And the strategies developed, experience acquired shows the need to have an increase in scale of these successful initiatives. REFACOF is also issuing a call to ITTO so that they can scale up the contribution to the improvement of the forest cover and the forest ecosystems. And this is the way in which the sustainability of forest and the return to biodiversity can be guaranteed. Thank you.
We'll move on to the next presentation, the final presentation by Dr. Lydia Atutonu. She's a focal point for REFACOF in Togo. As you can see, REFACOF is an extensive network of women's organizations in Africa. Please, Lydia.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chen. Good morning to all. It is a pleasure for us to present to you the results of the project designed to give support to feminine groupings for the restoration of forest landscapes in the prefecture of Blita and lakes area in Togo. Phase 3, we've already concluded first and second phase, and we've reached the third phase. In previous sessions of ITTO, we had opportunity to submit to you the results of the two previous phases of this project. So what's the objective of the project? The objective is an objective of development aiming to consolidate and guarantee the perennial duration of positive experiences by the development of community forests to restore degraded forest environments and improve the means of subsistence of the communities concerned, and more particularly the women groupings involved. Specific objectives are two. First of all, to better consolidate what has been secured in the two previous phases, and to increase the forest potential in Blita and the lake prefectures by creating community forests. And secondly, to continue the support for alternative sources of subsistence, and more specifically for women's groupings. What have been the main achievements in relation to this project? First of all, we evolved a plan for the creation of new plantation species, 8 altogether, for following the Tangia method. So what we did was develop nurseries on the two sites devolved for the project in the Blita and the lakes area. And so we did cover quite some ground. 320 kilos of agricultural seedlings were purchased, 50 kilos of which of corn, Guaygan, and 270 kilos in Balaguer, which was corn, soya, and beans, and then we also had Keong and minerals. What we produced in the end was 15,357 plants for the restoration for a new plantation and for other outlets. In regard of the other achievements, we equipped 2 women's groups with a motorized pump and various accessories in order to enable them to achieve a higher productivity in their project. A shop was created on each site in order to make it possible for women to ensure that income-generating activities can be pursued. So what was the major impact of the Phase 3 on the groups of women who benefited in the Blita and Lakes areas? First of all, the women acquired qualifications relating to plant production, produced for themselves, as well as developing a production for sale at market in order to have an income-generating activity. Subsistence production and income-generating production enabled women not only to benefit from the use of these in order to fulfill their food needs, but also to achieve surplus, which made it possible to improve their level of subsistence. And that means that women improved their means of existence, and that they developed a diversity of the income sources. Basically, over the long term, the benefits of the production coming out of this plantation will be in the hands of women, and will make it possible for them to control their use. It's also been observed that the beneficiary groupings improved their profile and visibility at regional level and at prefecture level, which means that they are recognized as a means to contribute to the production of plants, restoration of forest landscapes, and diversification of income sources. And this is undeniable because there is tangible result, and there is demonstrable change of women's status in the areas where this is being developed. We also decided that there was progress with relation to phase 2 and an improvement in the motivation of women to achieve alternative sources of income, enabling them to become permanent contributors in the production, for instance, of tapioca, gari, cocoa oil in their respective localities. And the development of these elements, the production of gari and tapioca, have made it possible for them to supply the raw material for transformation and to derive benefit from it. And the beneficiary groups also strengthen their social cohesion and their ability to take initiatives in order to ensure the perennity of the projects. We have thanks also to give to ITTO and Sokagakai from Japan for the support that they provided, both financial and technical, which made it possible to deploy the activities that I've just described under the auspices of REFACOF Togo. There's satisfaction concerning the service provided by REFACOF and the will of ITTO to further support African women in their efforts to improve their means of subsistence and to restore forest ecosystems that have been degraded in Africa. The mission also is a mission of a follow-up by the ITTO in Togo, which came in September 24, to assess the achievements of the project, and this shows the interest that has been created, which is a source of motivation for the women beneficiaries who wish to develop the financing for a new phase of development in this area. So these slides give you a few illustrations in pictures of the activities undertaken. Top left, you see a nursery created by women, and next picture in the middle is a plantation which was deployed 3 months after the planting. And then you have the situation in September 2022. And the picture that you find top right shows that after a few months, the plantation that we saw has improved and shows that we now have a forest and that there has been a change occurring. Restoration is tangible, visible. It is reality. And so the picture you find on the second line at the far right is the second site, which gives you the condition of the reforested site. And we're now in July 2024 in Pagadagar, which is in fact proof of success. And on the far left in the second line is one of the shops that was built by us at the core of the project site. And so we have a video which we will be able to share later on. And this is the group picture that we took on the 17th June 2024 after the ceremony of planting that we undertook at that time, and I wish to thank you for your kind attention.
Merci beaucoup, Lydia. All right, that ends the presentation from the CSAG panel today. I just want to highlight, I think, one thing that comes through very well, I believe, from all the presentations. When we are talking about gender, rural community, local communities, and restoration, or reforestation, we are not talking about large scales in hectares. We are not talking about tens of thousands. We are not talking about commercial ventures in timber production. We are talking about local communities and how women, men, children live and work closely together with natural resources, with the forest resource. So we are talking about hectares, 1, 2, 3, 10. But the impact on the communities, on the families, is tremendous, as you can hear. Right? I will open the floor for any remarks or points that anyone from the room here, from Council, would like to share or to ask questions from the panelists. The floor is open. Thank you. Rica, I see Costa Rica, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. First of all, I would like to thank all the panelists for their presentations. In previous councils, we have talked about the need to document what the participation of the women is in achieving the sustainable development goals. Back then, we talked about that need. Sadly, there is a huge gap there. We don't see the role that the women have played in the world, not only to have a healthy environment, but also to recognize their role as women, as mothers, those roles they play. To give you an idea, in Costa Rica, we have identified certain values and actions through which the work of women has contributed to achieve those goals. Also in productive activities in rural communities, many times what the women serve on the table is the work that they carry out, and sometimes that work is not visible. In Costa Rica, like in many other countries, where we sit down to assess what is the land ownership, we can see in Costa Rica that only 15% of the productive units have a female ownership. What does that mean? It means that if we want to break the gender gap, we have to have a level playing field. We have to level that playing field. And what does that mean? It means that women need to have access to land ownership so that they can produce, and that those areas can be used as guarantees in order to obtain loans, because this is one of the huge gaps that we have identified, because women, not being owners, do not have the same access to financing so that they can do these activities, activities that we have to recognize are wonderful. Also, on access to information and training, there we also need to level the play field. The knowledge that women have on natural resources is unequal to men. Also, in order to access water through forests. In Costa Rica, I would like to invite you to check our experience. We have a prize for gender inclusion in a productive unit. And we try to give more importance to the unpaid work that women do, and that reverts in more health for the planet and a better environment. And it's a prize that has been recognized by the government, and on the 12th of October, the International Day of Rural Women, we gave the prize to 12 women who have fought with tooth and nails, as we say, because they haven't had any support, to reward them with this prize. And I am really happy to see the results that we have heard about in the presentations. I think that the way the organization has replied to those needs that we presented a few years ago in Council is bearing its fruit. We're happy about what has been presented today, but we still have a long way to go. So congratulations to the panelists. Thank you for the presentations, and congratulations to the organization. I think we're going in the right way, that we're taking the right path, and obviously you have all our support for similar initiatives that help us breach the gender gap that we see in all our communities. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Costa Rica. We appreciate the support and the resonation of the messages that we've been providing. I think we have Korea, is it? Please.
Thank you very much to all presenters for their great and insightful presentation. I have a question regarding the issue of fuel replacement. This can go to any presenters who has any ideas related to this experience. Because of the speaking of Korea's case, decades ago when we are implementing the first generation, the energy issue, the replacing the conventional firewood was the most urgent and important issue. And then I believe that women has the key role, and they are important when we consider this issue, because they are main user of fuels to cook or something in many cases. So I think there are many energy related initiatives under implementation, especially in African countries or somewhere. So I'm curious about how any restoration projects present today are working toward this energy or fuel issue. So is there any good practices or any challenging experience during any project? So I would thank you if you could share any ideas or experiences. So thank you. That's my question. And once again, I thank you very much to all presenters. Thank you.
Thank you very much. But about energy, anyone has got any immediate response? If not, I think some projects are actually looking at fieldwood. We could always share the link with you as well. But any immediate reactions from anyone on the panel?
Merci. Au niveau...
Thank you very much. For Côte d'Ivoire, the rehabilitation project really has an impact, a positive impact on forests. For our association, MALEBI, we produce coal, which is used for cooking in rural areas, and charcoal. So we had to go to a natural forest to take wood and to make charcoal. And with the project financed with ITTO, we've had a project for 100 hectares, and with acacia. So 5 years after planting, you can have regeneration of these species. But what is interesting is that everyone participates in the plantation that is created. So we've got also other products that are needed for cooking. So this is wood, but also other products for cooking. And this is part of these reforestation projects. So we see we've got a positive impact on the livelihoods of communities, and we regenerate forests. We don't touch the forest anymore, and communities think that this is very positive for them as well. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup par rapport.
Thank you very much for the impact on energy. So for Togo, 11% of the energy for cooking is taken from wood. So this is why the government has set up a project to promote the use of wood for cooking. So there are certain plantations that are created specifically for that end, and in order to reduce the pressure on wood. And this also increases the livelihoods of different households. And we have these plantations for energy wood, so to speak, and communities can then use those resources, and this reduces the pressure on other areas. For example, we are next to mangrove systems, and we see that there is strong pressure exerted on the mangrove areas. So this is why we have created these plantations for energy wood, and this is available to local populations. Thank you.
Thank you. To ensure we can finish on time, I see two interventions from the floor. So we'll end with Indonesia and Malaysia. Indonesia first.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you for the panelists for the insightful updates. It actually encouraged us to be more focused on the gender and social inclusion mainstreaming in forest management, both in the upstream and also in the downstream sectors. It did also remind us that the role of NTFP is very crucial for not only for the community, but also for the government revenue, for the forest levies in Indonesia as the case. And then one more thing that Chair, in ITTC 59, if I'm not mistaken, that we still have the pending matters regarding the involvement of the young generation. So as the panelists described before, that the young generation actually played a very important role in the sustainable forest management. In case of Indonesia, as I mentioned before yesterday in the wood industry, actually they are as the potential consumers, and then also as the designers of the wood industries, the wood products in Indonesia. So I think we have to consider their role in this council. So yeah, thank you. And regarding with the evaluation and monitoring system, maybe we can share a little bit about our system that we have in the ministry that will be explained by my colleague. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. With regard to the sustainability strategies that since 2016, Indonesia has developed the database for forest management, call it Satu Data PHL, or One Data Sustainable Forest Management. This information system integrated three pillars of the sustainable forest management, namely economic viability, where we record that non-tax revenue that our college says that, and the timber and non-timber production, and then the processed food production and also export values. And then for the social acceptability, including the partnership of the community with the forest concession. And then the ecological balance by recording the planting in plantation forest and also enrichment with intensive silviculture techniques for the natural forest. This information is presented transparently and up to date and can be accessed by the public through the website, our website. This is phlmenlhk.go.id. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Indonesia. Malaysia, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I would like to applaud all panelists for sharing all the experiences, strategies in their forest landscape restoration. I would like to ask this question, clarification from Ms. Christine, Indonesia panelist. I'm interested to know whether there's any written policy specifically involving or rather stating women participation in forest landscape restoration. And this one is in respect of Indonesia specifically. And how you ensure the success of the participation when it involves the local communities in Indonesia. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mom. Actually, in Indonesia right now, we have like a requirement for us that 30% of us, it should be women when we have the one of regulation will be developed, even in our village right now. And also when some of our activities that related with SFM or sustainable forest management also have requirement, it must be involved of the women in our group. So even in our every activities right now, it should be, we have around 30% of women in our activities. So that's why we have like secure, not secure, but actually we have like a guarantee, because we know that a woman must have the holistic consideration when they have a decision. Like us here, maybe as a mom, as a mother, and also as teacher, but we are here for all our natural resources management. So it is. So that's why. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's the panel discussions over. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to give short highlights about the CSAG statement. We are taking this opportunity, and we'd like to thank you, ITTO, for giving us this opportunity, just to share some points from the CSAG group to Council as you deliberate this week. Basically. Right. Now, first of all, thank you very much for inviting CSAG to be on the panel here. We're very happy to be here to contribute our ideas and knowledge. And for all of you for your active listening in terms of the lessons, challenges, issues that we are sharing with you. It's also important to note, globally, forest loss and degradation continue to degrade the quality of ecosystems around the world. We know that is happening. We can see it in the news every day. We believe that solving the problem requires more than just planting trees, even though you do hear about some of the projects about planting trees, because it is important to replace what has been lost. And ITTO and its partners have increasingly recognized that a landscape approach is essential. Now, but bear in mind though, we are talking about whether we are talking about reforestation or restoration for a specific objective. They're very different, right? So it's not one term that covers everything that you need, whether it's for species, for timber production or non-timber medicinal, or for economic development, social benefits, environmental benefits, and so on. However, while forest landscape restoration, and ITTO does have a guideline on that, in case you do not know, as presented by ITTO and its partners, is an effort to increase the resilience of landscapes and the communities that support it. It should not only be about restoring pristine forests, but also about making landscapes more resilient in order to promote sustainable forest management and sustainable land management practices that provide a pathway to resilience, biodiversity conservation, and climate change mitigation. And that is a big challenge, as you can hear from the presentation, basically, whether the forest, what you're planting, can actually survive in the face of climate change. Now, including supporting forest-dependent communities, especially women, in their efforts to increase and sustain the benefits they derive from land management. As you have been hearing as well, in many forest-dependent communities, women are often responsible for managing scarce resources, such as water, wood, and fuel, positioning them as key stakeholders in land restoration initiatives. They also have indigenous knowledge of local farming methods, plants, and ecosystems, and practices related to sustainable land management and restoration. It's not perfect, but the knowledge is available, and they're ready to share. We have no doubt, therefore, that if empowered, and as we've been hearing from the panelists, women's agricultural experience can inform effective strategies for rehabilitating degraded land by identifying indigenous timber and non-timber forest products and medicinal use, and selecting crops that will improve soil health and build resilience and sustainability for future generations within the community. Now, the full statement will be shared, but I just want to end with a few recommendations, or to highlight some of the recommendations. Right? ITTO should consider actively engaging our member organizations and communities within the civil society in various conversations and opportunities that contribute to sustainable development and climate goals, to help scale up the area and governance of forest landscape restoration, and increase the provision of goods and services from planted and restored forests in ITTO member countries. Two, in order to recognize and promote the role of women in both forestry and land restoration, and to improve outcomes for women and the environment, there is a need for gender-sensitive policies and laws that are informed by women's experiences. We encourage all government agencies, governments itself, to actually take this into account if possible. Support is needed from the ITTO, its member countries, and investors to address the barriers women face to effective and efficient participation in the forest sector, such as cultural barriers, limited access to resources, land tenure, benefit sharing rights, and decision-making power. And as our August member from Costa Rica mentioned, funding for gender-based forest restoration is sadly lacking as well. And given the momentum already created by ITTOs, by various ITTO projects, we urge the Executive Director, Council, and Secretariat to further accelerate support for community-led implementation of the ITTO's published guidelines on forest landscape restoration. Now, there are many principles and guiding elements in that. I won't read it through in terms of, in the interest of time, but it is good for us to dust it off, take it from the shelf, re-look at that, because we got lots of guidelines that we could actually help, and ITTO was instrumental in actually developing those guidelines. Right? Thank you very much. I will pass it back to the chair. After the chair has finished closing, basically, we have a special ceremony for CSAG, which I will call the Executive Director to come up here afterwards, after the chair has closed the session.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chen. I think that all the experiences that were shared by CSAG have been very, very enriching. And to end, I would just like to stress that we must continue working in networks, because all the experiences presented by yourselves have stressed the importance of partnerships, and this forum is one example of such partnership. And for restoration to be successful, and this is something that we must achieve everywhere, will depend if the network can respond to the needs of local communities and women. And I think Indonesia said it. There's a need of making sure new generations are involved, because in the future they will face the problems if we do not restore our forests today and our ecosystems today. Thank you so much.
We are going to have a special event right now. If you can ask Sham to come up to the back. I will pass the mic over to Delphine from MALEBI. Oh, no, we can go.
I have the immense privilege and pride to take the floor once again in a solemn fashion in front of all of you to say that the history of our association MALEBI started in this same room in 2009. Without men, women cannot move ahead. And we can say that for MALEBI, without ITTO, our women from the rural areas in Côte d'Ivoire could not make their voices heard. 2009-2024. August 5th, 2024, the President of the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire, His Excellency Alassane Ouattara, gave to the Association MALEBI the award of the best actor for defending forests, fauna, and water resources. This award is accompanied by an envelope of $20,000. Women of our association MALEBI gathered and told me, Madam Chair, you will go to Japan to give this award to the executive director of ITTO, because everything started from the financing and this grant of $50,000 that we received. So we made that trip. At first, I didn't want to. I said that we had to carry out other projects with this money, but women said to me, well, without ITTO, we could not do anything. And if we are recognized today, it is our duty to give this award to ITTO. So we used that envelope to pay for the traveling expenses, and we also had to make a point and to say that we had to travel in business class. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the award that we would like to present to the executive director.
Thank you. Thank you very much to members of the civil society panel. I'm sorry, you know, it's a bit of an emotional session. It has been a number of years of hard work, and they are absolutely right in thanking the organization, not me. Thanking the ITTO for bringing REFACOF to the forefront of international attention. I have strived since I've joined ITTO to continue those efforts to give these wonderful ladies prominence on the international stage, and so that they can provide the acclamation that the ITTO deserves in having been the sole force to establish REFACOF, where an announcement was made at Council some years ago. And since 2018, of course, the CSAG panel is now a main item on the Council agenda. Prior to 2018, CSAG events were always side events, which I didn't feel was right, considering that we had members who were funding projects that were being run by members of the civil society who are actively involved with the ITTO. So they continue to remain a main item on the Council agenda so that all of you are appraised of the projects that are being implemented on the ground. And heartiest congratulations to the MALEBI project, which ITTO was the torchbearer for that project to have grown to the extent that it has, for the head of state from Côte d'Ivoire to have been awarded the Prize of Excellence. We share that immense pride that Côte d'Ivoire has, and I think ITTO needs to be extremely proud of this achievement. The MALEBI model, of course, was transported in subsequent years by us, by the Secretariat, to Togo, which has undergone 3 phases with gracious funding from Sokagakai International. And that same project has now been replicated in Benin. It is in the process of implementation right now. And I just wanted to stress on the fact that even the smaller projects that are carried out on a national level, where ITTO is concerned, they are always designed in such a way that they can be replicable and also scalable. MALEBI is proof for it, and I congratulate Madame Delphine Ahoussi. She has been the driving force behind that, and ITTO has also been behind the driving force to support the nomination of the Wangari Maathai Awards, where Cecil Nejabet, who is the president of REFACOF, is currently the holder of the Wangari Maathai Awards. With that, all of you need to feel proud. I thank you again, and thank you for this wonderful gift from the civil society panel. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, señora.
Thank you so much, Executive Director, and thank you all for being here. It's been wonderful. We will have a short coffee break. We'll be back at 11:30. Thank you.
Tropical forests are the most diverse ecosystems on Earth. They support the livelihoods of local communities and provide environmental services for everyone. But they are being lost at an alarming rate. We need to use tropical forests, but we have to do this in a more sustainable way. And that's why the ITTO exists. We are the global leader in sustainable forest management, upholding the social, economic and environmental values of forests. Our member countries include 80% of the world's tropical forests and 90% of the tropical timber trade. In the past 30 years, we've funded over 1,000 projects worth over $400 million. Our approach creates sustainable livelihoods by working with forest-dependent communities and reduces illegal deforestation and forest degradation. We facilitate strong, equal and inclusive governance. And through sustainable forest management, we put policies into practice, delivering solutions for some of the world's biggest challenges. Let's ensure forests are here for the future. Partner with us to make sustainable forest management a global reality.
In Togo, in West Africa, Soka Gakkai works with the International Tropical Timber Organization and REFACOF, the African Women's Network for Community Management of Forests, to enhance forest landscape restoration and women's empowerment. SDG 13, take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. Forest landscapes restoration in Africa, the progress of Soka Gakkai's collaborative project. The village of Aguegon in Togo's Lax Prefecture, a 1-hour drive from the capital, Lomé. This is one of 2 areas where Soka Gakkai is supporting forest landscape restoration.
L'objectif de ce projet, c'est d'aider les femmes à pouvoir faire la production des plants pour le reboisement, l'agroforesterie et à partir de ça contribuer à la restauration, à la reconstitution des paysages forestiers dégradés et d'avoir des produits vivriers pour leur alimentation. Ceci va leur permettre d'assurer la sécurité alimentaire et leur autonomisation.
Under the project, the women have produced 48,000 seedlings. The women are restoring vegetation cover. They have learned techniques for combining reforestation and growing agricultural products. Forests help combat climate change by absorbing greenhouse gases. The project has promoted women's financial independence and empowerment.
Soka Gakkai has helped our women. In total, 150 women have benefited from support of Soka Gakkai, and we have now been able to restore 35 hectares. We in REFACOF, our objective is to improve women's condition of living and by improving also the environment. So we have the double objective that we have to restore Africa ecosystem, but also improve the quality of life of women and their families in Africa. So we have to thank very much Soka Gakkai for this support, and please continue to work with REFACOF. We are one of the rare women association or women network in Africa, working with women and being 100% women. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Soka Gakkai International President Daisaku Ikeda has said the 21st century will be an African century. The 21st century will be the century of girls and women. Make the people in the most difficult situations the happiest. Working together, we will walk towards a sustainable future.
Green Expo 2027. Focusing on environmental challenges linked to climate change, the richness of plant life, and biodiversity. A first-of-its-kind international expo in Japan. Its main theme, Scenery of the Future for Happiness. In this era of intensifying global warming, with more and more people becoming deeply conscious of planetary boundaries, we are collectively seeking ways to shape a happy and sustainable future. The global community is now striving towards carbon neutrality to halt the rise of greenhouse gas emissions, and nature positive to rejuvenate biodiversity. To achieve these objectives, the concept of nature-based solutions has emerged. By enhancing our understanding of the environment and plant life, the bedrock of planetary habitats, this methodology will allow us to live into tomorrow in harmony with nature. We are set to gather insights from around the globe and collaborate with all participants to create a new expo. This is what Green Expo 2027 is all about. As the host city, Yokohama has made its Zero Carbon Yokohama Declaration, a commitment to decarbonization by 2050. The city is showcasing its environmental strategies and advancing green transformation through partnerships spanning industry, academia, and government. Additionally, the Yokohama Future Creation Council has been established to engage in dialogue and actions with the generations who will shape our society in the coming decades. Leveraging the citizen power that is Yokohama's strength, each individual will play a leading role and share a new vision of the future from Yokohama to Japan and from Japan to the world. The venue, located in the city of Yokohama's western region, the natural expanse of Kamiseya. As an expo striving to realize carbon neutrality and nature positivity, a nature-based design approach will utilize the area's natural topography, vegetation, and water. And to embody the expo's theme of Scenery of the Future for Happiness, collaborative initiatives centered on a series of villages. These showcases for a new green society will be infused with the principles of green and digital transformation. Starting with Urban GX, Farm and Food, Craft, Kids, and Satoyama. These 5 villages will collectively exemplify our sustainable society in the making. The expo's architecture, in addition to overflowing with flora, will minimize environmental impact and facilitate reuse and recycling post-expo through green circular architecture. At the Signature Theme Pavilion, interfacing the real with the digital, an immersive exploration into the innovative potential of plants. To make our Green Expo 2027 everything it can be, we all need to chip in. Every aspiration, every bit of wisdom, and every shared effort counts. Together, let's bring Scenery of the Future for Happiness into crisp focus. Come March 2027, here's looking forward to sharing smiles and laughter when we gather in Kamiseya, Yokohama.
We are all leaders, guardians of our planet. Our tropical forests are still moving towards an uncertain future. 1.6 billion futures depend on these ecosystems that help sustain us all. At ITTO, we are also moving towards a future. One that's rooted in 30 years of engagement, experience and innovation in sustainable forest management. We can't predict the future, but we help shape it, together with local communities, government and industry. We put in place programs and policies that invest in communities, make industry and trade more fair and transparent, provide research and knowledge that allows stakeholders to take action. We strengthen local and international partnerships and help end forest loss and illegal logging. Together with our partners, we are responding to climate change, expanding biodiversity conservation, and helping lift people out of poverty by sustainably protecting the forests that support them. Join our global leadership, sustain the planet's tropical forests, and create a better future for everyone. ITTO. Partner with us today.
The TIC project in Cambodia is very important since they are now starting to revive their forest industry. So hopefully in the future, TIC can help the country to have economic boost, especially for smallholder and community from the TIC plantations. Timber trades very much rely on the plantations. And with this plantation, we actually reduce the pressure to our natural forests. And this is a good chance also for investors to look at better opportunities in their business for producing high quality timber and of course later on produce the high quality of furniture from TICs.
គឺជាប្រភេទដែលនាំចូលមកដាំនៅកម្ពុជាក្នុងកំឡុងពេលដែលយើងនៅស្ថិតនៅក្រោមការគ្រប់គ្រងរបស់អាណានិគមនិយមបារាំងប្រភេទឈើម៉ៃសាក់នេះគឺជាប្រភេទឈើមួយដែលថ្មីដែលយើងគិតថាជួយបង្កើនជីវភាពប្រជាជននិងក៏ជាសេដ្ឋកិច្ចរបស់ប្រទេសផងដែរក៏ប៉ុន្តែដោយសារប្រជាជនមួយចំនួនមិនសូវបានស្គាល់ប្រភេទឈើនេះអញ្ចឹងហើយធ្វើឲ្យមានការដាំដុះមិនបានទូលំទូលាយនៅក្នុងប្រទេសកម្ពុជាឡើយហេតុដូចនេះហើយកម្ពុជាមិនមានអ្វីច្រើនធនធានច្រើននៅប្រភេទឈើម៉ៃសាក់សម្រាប់បង្កើនជីវភាពសង្គមប្រមាណទេក្នុងពេលបច្ចុប្បន្ននេះរដ្ឋបាលព្រៃឈើក៏ដូចជាក្រសួងកសិកម្មបានជំរុញវិស័យឯកជនកិច្ចសហប្រតិបត្តិការដើម្បីធ្វើការបង្កើនការដាំដុះប្រភេទឈើនេះនៅបណ្ដាទីតាំងមួយចំនួនទៀត
ខ្ញុំចាប់ដាំចកាម៉ៃសាក់ហ្នឹងគឺក្នុងសហគមន៍របស់យើងនៅភូមិកផ្លេងហ្នឹងបាទនិយាយទៅបងចកាម៉ៃសាក់ហ្នឹងយើងពេលយើងដាំការបដោះហើយនឹងនេះមកតាំងឆ្នាំ2001ពេលយើងចាប់ដាំគឺដាំទាំងអស់ហ្មងក្នុងផ្ទៃដីចំនួន100ហិកតាយើងចាប់ដាំវាហ្នឹងដល់យើងសង្ឃឹមលើកម្លាំងពលកម្មទាំងស្រុងក្នុងការដាំហ្នឹងហើយយើងដាំក្នុងគម្លាតវា2ម៉ែត្រគុណនឹង2ម៉ែត្របាទបើសិនជាយើងគិតពីផលប៉ះអាកាសធាតុមួយរយៈចុងក្រោយនេះខ្ញុំចាប់ដាំតាំងពីឆ្នាំ2021មក2001បាទ2001ឃើញដាំដុះមានការលូតលាស់ល្អក៏ប៉ុន្តែខ្ញុំសង្កេតមើលឈើដែលខ្ញុំដាំដុះហ្នឹងដល់ពីអាយុឈើបងនិយាយពីអាយុឈើក្នុងរយៈអាយុ15ឆ្នាំហ្នឹងគឺចាប់ផ្ដើមយឺតតែយើងក៏សិក្សាមើលនឹងការថែទាំវាត្រូវធ្វើវាមិនកាត់ស្មៅកាត់សម្អាតលះខ្នែងលះអីចឹងទៅបន្ទាប់មកខ្ញុំដល់ឆ្នាំ2021នេះខ្ញុំក៏ឃើញថាដើមឈើម៉ៃសាំងវាមានទំហំធំធាត់យ៉ាងអាចដកហូតបានខ្លះអញ្ចឹងក៏ខ្ញុំរៀបចំចាប់ផ្ដើមធ្វើជារោងសិប្បកម្មតូចមួយដើម្បីកែច្នៃឈើម៉ៃសាក់ហ្នឹងជាងនៅក្នុងរោងជាងរបស់យើងហ្នឹងគឺគាត់ចេះតែប្រជាពលរដ្ឋក្នុងសហគមន៍ហ្នឹងក្មេងៗអាយុចាប់ពី18 20អញ្ចឹងទៅអញ្ចឹងមួយផ្ដល់ការងារគាត់បានច្រើនការធ្វើហ្នឹងបើសិនជាក្នុងចំការទាំងអស់ហ្នឹងរបស់យើងមាន100ហាត់ហ្នឹងក្នុងមួយឆ្នាំយើងចំណាយលុយប្រហែលជិត$20000យើងមុនដំបូងដែលយើងត្រូវការកាត់ហ្នឹងគឺយើងត្រូវការកាត់ហូតឈើដែលមានទំហំខ្នាតត្រឹមត្រូវដើម្បីបញ្ជូនមកដល់រោងជាងយើងហើយយើងកាត់ចេញជាប្រភេទខ្នាតមូលវាមានខ្នាត1.2 ម៉ែត្រនិង2.2 ម៉ែត្រនិង3ម៉ែត្រហ្នឹងតាមអាស្រ័យលើអ្វីដែលយើងត្រូវការអញ្ចឹងតាមខ្នាតវែងតូចធំរបស់យើងទៅហើយយើងមានម៉ាស៊ីនធំនេះមួយគឺសម្រាប់ជ្រៀកម៉ាស៊ីនហ្នឹងគឺអាចជ្រៀកចេញមកជាប្រទេសស្ដាងទៅតាមខ្នាតដែលយើងត្រូវការ ដល់យើងជ្រៀកហើយយើងចាប់ផ្ដើមកាត់វាកាត់តាមຂະຫນាតខ្លីវែងយើងត្រូវការជ្រៀកឲ្យស្អាតមកអញ្ចឹងយើងយកដាក់ហាលវាងាយស្រួលឆាប់ស្ងួតដែរឈើមួយស្អាងវាត្រូវការកម្ដៅថ្ងៃល្មមនឹងហាលរយៈពេល2អាទិត្យយើងបាញ់ទឹកបាញ់អីទៅវាអាចស្ងួតយកមកប្រើប្រាស់បានអញ្ចឹងយើងចាប់ផ្ដើមកាត់វាហាលស្ងួតហើយបាទយើងចាប់ផ្ដើមយកមកធ្វើជាសង្ហារឹមមានតាមຂະຫນាតតុកទូអីទៅតាមនឹងជាក់ស្ដែងហ្នឹងទៅមានតុកមានទូមានកៅអីមានអីដែលអាស្រ័យលើអតិថិជនក៏កំងនឹងអ្វីដែលខ្ញុំសង្ឃឹមហ្នឹងទី1អ្វីដែលខ្ញុំផ្ដោតគោលដៅសំខាន់ហ្នឹងបើអាចមានលទ្ធភាពគឺបើករោងចក្រដែលមានស្តង់ដារត្រឹមត្រូវក្នុងការកែច្នៃគ្រឿងសង្ហារឹមកុំឲ្យនាំចូលមកពីក្រៅប្រទេសទៀតយើងប្រើក្នុងស្រុកបងប្អូនយើងគ្រប់គ្រងខ្លាំងបើយើងឲ្យមានគុណភាពល្អហើយតម្លៃធូរជ្រុញយ៉ាងនិយាយថាជ្រុញសុខភាពហើយថាវាយើងធ្វើដល់ធម្មជាតិសុទ្ធវាអត់មានជាតិពុលអត់មានអីចឹងណាអញ្ចឹងយើងធ្វើប្រម៉ូសិនខ្លះតាមទីផ្សារខ្លះឲ្យប្រជាពលរដ្ឋយើងគាត់យល់ដឹងពីការប្រើប្រាស់ជ្រុញតមកឥឡូវគាត់យើងមករយៈក្រោយមកយើងមានទទួលការគ្រប់គ្រងច្រើននឹងការលក់ជ្រុញហ្នឹងខ្លាំងដែរ
គោលបំណងសំខាន់ដែលយើងចង់បានចុងក្រោយនោះឲ្យប្រជាជនយល់អំពីដំណើរការនៃការបណ្ដុះនិងថែរក្សានិងធ្វើការប្រមូលផលនៃប្រភេទឈើនេះឲ្យបានមានប្រសិទ្ធភាពហើយក៏ជួយដល់ជីវភាពរស់នៅរបស់ពួកគាត់ផងដែរចឹងហើយយើងក៏ជាផ្នែកមួយដើម្បីជំរុញឲ្យកិច្ចការទាំងអស់ចំពោះបណ្ដាប្រទេសដែលជាសមាជិកអង្គការ ITTO នេះដើម្បីជំរុញការធ្វើការសិក្សាស្រាវជ្រាវមើលនៅបច្ចេកទេសដែលធ្វើយ៉ាងណាដើម្បីឲ្យប្រភេទឈើម៉ៃសាក់ហ្នឹងលូតលាស់កាន់តែលឿនហើយនឹងទទួលផលក្នុងរយៈពេលខ្លីរដ្ឋបាលព្រៃឈើនឹងសហការជាមួយនឹងដៃគូពាក់ព័ន្ធជាពិសេសវិស័យឯកជនក៏ដូចជាអ្នកម្ចាស់ចម្ការឈើជាលក្ខណៈគ្រួសារទូចៗហ្នឹងដើម្បីឲ្យគាត់នឹងចូលរួមនៅក្នុងសកម្មភាពហ្នឹងកាន់តែច្រើនឡើង
Tropical forests are home to the richest biodiversity on Earth, including countless tree species. A large number of these species are traded for various purposes and therefore need protection from intensive harvesting, which could lead to their endangerment and even extinction. That is why, since 2007, the ITTO, International Tropical Timber Organization, and CITES, Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, are collaborating on a program of activities to implement CITES listings of tropical tree species. The goal of this program is to ensure that international trade in CITES-listed tree species is consistent with their sustainable management and conservation. This is especially being done through expertise exchange, but also institutional, academic, and private sector partnerships with reference to multiple aspects of sustainable forest management. Scattered across the mountain ranges of tropical Africa is the African cherry tree, or Prunus africana. Its bark has medicinal properties, and its dried extract is used by European pharmaceutical companies in the treatment of prostate disorders. After years of overharvesting, the EU imposed a ban on Prunus africana imports. In Cameroon, its biggest exporter, CITES and ITTO, began in 2007 a program to ensure its sustainable management. As a result, Cameroon has now implemented a chain of custody to guarantee the tree's conservation and sustainable use. Farmers are now trained and certified on sustainable harvest techniques. They no longer strip all the bark. Depending on the diameter of the tree, they only take 2 to 4 pieces every 5 years. The community harvests less bark than before, but receives a fairer price, earning a higher rate per kilo.
If you take too much bark, the next thing is death. the tree will die, and then you will no longer have prunus again. So it is important to take just small and then allow the tree to be there.
The Peruvian Amazon is home to approximately 6,000 tree species. Among these, the big-leaf mahogany distinguishes itself for its quality, resistance, and malleability. It is precisely because of these characteristics
Le agradecemos retomar sus puestos para continuar, por favor.
Can you please take your seats? We are going to continue.
Working together with Peru to create
Ladies
a
and
program
gentlemen,
to ensure
please
the
take
trade
your
of big-leaf
seats
mahogany
that
would
we can
guarantee its
start the
sustainability
session.
and conservation. Big-leaf mahogany is found in
Siguiente tema.
The next topic is the expert panel for technical appraisal of project proposals report. Gerard is going to offer us this presentation.
Do I operate that from here? This one? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to, on behalf of the expert panel, present a report of the technical appraisal of project proposals, the meeting of the 59th expert panel, which was held as a virtual review, and due to that, the expert panel also does not have a chairperson-elect. That I take the liberty to present it on behalf of the expert panel. So what is the mandate of the expert panel? You can see it in this slide. It's basically all the proposals that we receive are scrutinized and for their compliance with the terms of reference that we have for this kind of proposal, and of course for their technical feasibility, and that is what the expert panel does and reports to the council. The members of the expert panel are normally 12, and they are listed here. So we have 6 producers and 6 consumers at the moment. Some of them are here participating. Honda-san, I think, is here. And then done with Skype from Papua New Guinea. And Vanessa is also here from Panama. It's not always that we have a full list of nominations. Sometimes it's difficult, in particular because the panel has not been able to meet in person here in Yokohama over the past, I think this is the 5th evaluation that they do virtually. It started, of course, with COVID. So this is a sketch of the review process. The last panel was supposed to be held in July, but after consultation with the members of the panel, it was decided to do it virtually, and that was mainly due to the very low number of proposals. I will say something about that later. So they did the virtual review. They conducted that review in August and September, and this is what I'm presenting here now, the results of that proposal. The criteria for the assessment, including these 3 manuals that we have. So we have a manual for project formulation, and then we have the policy guidelines on gender equality and empowering women that have to be, that are evaluated by the panel, whether they are appropriately considered in the proposals. And we also have the environmental and social management guidelines. There is a rating of that done by the expert panel members. There's also a scoring system in place. I won't go into any details. It's basically a spreadsheet that the panel members can use, which is just meant for them to give an indication where the proposal is in terms of the technical aspects. the overall impression of each proposal by the panel members is then what they really rated in accordance with. So there is 4 categories after the rating that we basically have. Category 1 is the proposal is commended for funding with only very minor, if any, changes to the Council. Category 2, a proposal requires some essential modifications and needs resubmission to the expert panel. Category 3, which is a category that is there is hardly any proposals that receives that category rating, is a proposal that would require a pre-proposal. And category 4 is it's not recommended for consideration of the Council, so it's basically a proposal that needs to be completely reformulated or is not in accordance with the ITTO objectives. So in the virtual process, we have 2 expert panel members that assess every proposal or each proposal. That's normally 1 producer, 1 consumer, and they apply the common criteria that were in the previous slide. If it's a category 1 proposal, it will be commended to the Council. If both expert panel members agree that a proposal is category 4, it will be returned to the proponent, and in all other cases, the proposal will be held until the expert panel has a chance to meet in person, have a physical meeting. Now, this is just a sketch of the scoring system that I had mentioned before. It just gives you an idea how that is structured. It's basically an Excel spreadsheet where you tick certain boxes or put certain ratings, and then it will have an automatic scoring. So in 2024, the total number of proposals submitted under 2 deadlines, that is 1 deadline in December 2023 and 1 deadline in April 2024, was only 5. So that is a very low number. We had 3 proposals from Latin America, we had 1 proposal from the Asia-Pacific region and 1 from Africa. And in terms of technical divisions in charge of the proposal, it was all forest management, so there were no proposals under forest industry or economic statistics and markets. This is just the timeline. So in the beginning of October, the proposals category 1, that's in accordance with our procedures, were posted for time-bound electronic no objection. If there is any, no objections were received within that period of 2 weeks. So the proposals were then posted in accordance with that. So here below the graph, you can see that 1 proposal was from Benin, 2 from Brazil, 1 from Guatemala, and 1 from Indonesia. I forgot to mention the categories. So we had 4 out of the 5 proposals that are recommended for funding. So that's shows that the quality of the proposals was quite good, and 1 category 2 proposal. There were no real recommendations of the expert panel this time, also due to the virtual review. But what is clearly visible here is that the number of proposals, of full proposals, is going down year by year. So, as I said, since 2019, initially due to COVID, we had no physical sessions of the expert panel, but we still had 30 proposals. And then you can see 2020, it was only 18, in 21, 14, in 22, it was 11, in 23, 7, and in 24, it was only 5 proposals. And again, that is 2 deadlines. So I think we need to think about that in the discussions here. And that concludes the presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. As I said, there's also some expert panel members in the room. Thank you very much for your attention.
Has anybody got any questions for the expert panel? It seems that everything is very clear. There are no questions, so we can close this part of the session. And many thanks for your participation. The next item is the ex post evaluation report. You will remember that during the 57th Council of the CRF, we selected 2 projects to be submitted for the ex post evaluation. The first one is project Capacity Building on Forest and Land Fire Management in Indonesia, PP/A/56340-1, and the second project is Forest Fire Prevention and Response in Tropical Forest and Forest Plantations in the Republic of Peru, PP-A-56340-2. The committees will be able to read the summaries of the ex post evaluation reports. For the presentation of the results, we invite Dr. Lucy Amish to make her presentation.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to thank ITTO for giving me this opportunity to present the key findings of ex post evaluation of 2 completed forest fire-related projects. The primary purpose of the ex post evaluation was to conduct an in-depth evaluation of the completed projects, to look at the successful outcomes and unsuccessful outcomes, and the reasons for success and the reasons for failure. It was also to evaluate the contribution of the project to sustainable forest management. The scope of the presentation or evaluation was to conduct an analysis of the projects and provide an in-depth synthesis of the contribution of the project in achieving integrated forest fire management and sustainable forest management, and also to look at the overall impact of the project in the relevant sectors, and to look at the efficiency of the resources that was provided for the project and how it was used in achieving the outcomes. So the first project was on Indonesia. The title of the project is Capacity Building on Forest and Land Fire Management in Indonesia. And the consultant that worked on the ex post evaluation was Professor Bambai Hirosejani. The objective of the Indonesian projects was to reduce the occurrence of forest and land fires in targeted areas by strengthening capacity building in forest and land fire management, and also zero burning practices, and by increasing prevention activities with technology improvement and development of practical guidelines. The project achieved a number of outputs. The first was the land preparation without burning were implemented, and that actually contributed to Indonesian government's policy on zero burning. They established demonstration plots for demonstrating techniques for no burning. Farmers were supported to plant crops using the low burning techniques. And then there was also capacity building in terms of training on the techniques of zero burning, as well as techniques on fire suppression. Under the project developed what we call the Smart Patrol Information System that was supposed to help patrolling and reporting of fire detection. And this, even though it was a focus for the project site, it is currently being adapted by the government and upskilled and applied in the whole of Indonesia. The project also provided a number of safety equipment for firefighters, which included safety coats, shoes, portable fire water pumps, motorcycles, and then global positioning systems. For the project impact, if you compare the incidence of fire at the beginning of the project and at the end of the project, the satellite information indicated that there was no significant differences between the occurrence of fire at the beginning of the project and at the end of the project. However, in terms of awareness creation, the project achieved a lot by increasing awareness of farmers on the negative impact of fire and the risk associated with the use of fire in land preparation, which actually provides some form of groundwork for upscaling of future activities concerning zero burning. There were challenges to the implementation of the project, and these included planting could not be continued due to land tenure issues. There were occasional political conflicts at the village level. Initially, there was also lack of consensus between farmers and local administrative authorities on the selection of crops to be planted. And sometimes there was land use changes because of new directives from local administration authorities. The duration of the project was 18 months, and that did not provide enough time to also change attitude. So the recommendation for future projects is that future projects should actually focus on developing alternatives to the use of fire in land preparation and focus a lot of efforts on prevention. It should also cover a wide range of stakeholders, from the local level to the district level, to the city level, to the province level, as well as to the central government. And there's a need for strong stakeholder consultation at the beginning of the project. Already in Indonesia, there is a presidential instrument 3/2020 for forest and land fire management to provide the basis for stakeholder engagement and coordination, and that should be taken advantage of. For the second project in Peru, the project was on forest fire prevention and response in tropical forest and forest plantation in Peru. The ex-post evaluation was done by Professor Nalosco. The objectives of the project were to reduce the occurrence of forest fires by strengthening the capacities of national, regional, and local authorities in adapting forest fire prevention and response measures, and also to facilitate the management of forest fire information and early warning systems and provide training and forest regulation to relevant institutions. The project also had a number of achievements. Awareness campaign was improved. 593 people were engaged across 5 regions. There was training workshops conducted on the use of composting and sustainable agronomic techniques. They used satellite monitoring to help come out with detailed fire mapping and early warnings. There was also strong community engagement, and the communities were encouraged to use composting as an alternative to the use of fire. The project played a crucial role in helping to improve sustainable forest management, in the sense that by promoting alternatives to the use of fire, it reduces the incidence of fire and therefore helped in the conservation of biodiversity, ecosystem services, and eventually yielding to sustainable forest management. The Peruvian project also was very much linked with the Peru's national strategy on forest and climate change. There's a national strategy which is being worked on to combat desertification and drought, and that is from 2026 to 2030. The project fostered intersectorial collaboration, which served as inputs also for the development of a multi-sectorial plan that is currently being developed and will be implemented in Peru. The project focused on ensuring that prevention education campaign takes into consideration local traditions. And there was also monitoring throughout the project period to ensure that there is adaptive management of project activities. There were a number of challenges, which included that the project was initially delayed for over 8 months. There was inadequate training equipment during training sessions. There was also limited participation due to accessibility and differences in language. And there was poor documentation and dissemination of project results. And there was also lack of implementation of early warning systems. For this project, it's recommended that partnership will continue to be strengthened among all stakeholders or institutions to ensure effective integrated fire management in the long term. Institutions that are implementing the project, especially the CEFO, should enhance their technical capacity for coordination and fire management. And there's also the need to continue to train and equip the local communities to improve their fire management skills. There's a need to also leverage on technologies for monitoring of fire to improve early warning systems for fire detection and suppression. Finally, there's the need to ensure that education campaigns are tailored towards local traditions or local needs. So in conclusion, I'd like to say that in addition to projects with specific duration, ITTO should consider to work through existing wildland fire management networks in member countries to ensure sustainability of programs or activities that are developed and piloted most often under ITTO-funded projects to ensure that the projects can be sustainable in the long term. Thank you very much for your attention.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know if you have any questions on the results of these assessments. No questions. So, the United States, please, go ahead.
Adelante.
Thank you, Chair. We thank the Secretariat, Forestry Research Institute of Ghana, Peru, and Indonesia for their work on this ex-post evaluation report. The report's in-depth analysis and lessons learned should inform the ITTO guidelines on fire management in tropical forests and future ITTO project proposals related to wildfire management. We would especially highlight the sections on the further development and capabilities of integrated fire management, strengthening governance in integrated fire management, and community-based fire management in the revised guidelines. We support the references on professional qualification for fire management personnel, taking into account local traditions. Creating standardized training is a core part of our collaborative work with partners in Latin America, for example. We note the report's inclusion of national and regional centers of excellence in landscape fire management. Based on our experience with interagency fire coordination, we suggest that these specific regional centers have clearly defined mandates and understand how they integrate with emergency operations centers and link to other national policy and protocol, as well as efforts down to the local level. Lastly, alongside regional centers, we would strongly suggest taking into account the important developments of the Global Fire Management Hub. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias. Personalmente.
Thank you so much. I do actually recognize the cooperation of the United States Fire Fighting Agency that works with many organizations in Latin America.
just like following up on my colleague from the US and on the work that the ITTO is doing on guidelines on fire management in tropical forests. And we would also encourage the connection with the Global Fire Management Hub at the FAO. We think that this is an opportunity for great cooperation. The hub is just being set up, but is well advanced now. And we'll be looking at those questions of integrated fire management, as well as early warning systems. I know that there's been workshops already on early warning systems. And we see it as an opportunity to just work on synergies between the guidelines that the ITTO will develop and the work that the hub will be doing in the coming years. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, Canadá, por su comentario.
Thank you, Canada. Any other comments?
Canada and the United States for your comments. ITTO is a member of the Global Wildland Advisory Group of the UN International Strategy for Disaster Reduction. So we're very active on that group, as well as on the International Liaison Committee for the Wildfire Committee. We are also extremely active on the Global Fire Hub, and we were also directed recently by the UN Forum on Forests to develop a collaborative initiative at a broader scale than just tropical forest along with FAO. So we will be working very closely with FAO and other CPF members to develop that. In regards to the fire guidelines development, that issue will be discussed more at length within the CRF committee, and the recent developments that we learned in the process of trying to update them, and perhaps a new direction we'll be taking based on experts' feedback. I would also like to note that the particular project that was developed by Indonesia with ITTO funding was actually submitted to the International Climate Competition Green Euro-Asia 2024 competition, and they actually received first place in the category of sustainable land use, forestry, and water management for the work that Indonesia is doing on zero burning practices and alternative developments for land preparation without fire. So it is quite innovative, and it was also, some of those results were presented at the latest COP in Baku.
Muchísimas gracias.
Yes, thank you so much for that additional information. If we don't have any other comments, I think we can close this particular item and move on to the next item. Thank you.
El siguiente tema.
Well, the next item on our agenda, thank you. This would be item 5 on our agenda. These are the activities related to policy work under the Committee on Economic Statistics and Markets.
Tiene la palabra.
Yes, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I would take this opportunity to update information on the following 4 major legislative instruments in the year 2023 to 24, including the USDR, US Landscape Act, Australia Illegal Logging Prohibition Act and Japan Clean Wood Act. Also, draw attention on the following developments in Korea, China, Vietnam, and CITES. Yep. Okay, first, let me update the information about EUDR. Regarding the EUDR, the timeline appeared as follows. Agreement on 6 December 2022, adoption on 31st May 2023, entry into force on 29th June 2023, scheduled application on 30 December 2024, with SMEs in 2025. Only 2 weeks ago, finally announced 1 year, 12 months extension. According to previous schedule, EUDR and EUTR will exist in parallel from 30 December 2024 to 30 December 2027. And I think the extension will also apply to this process. The EUDR applies to a wide range of timber products with importers, exporters, forest owners, wood processors, requires a due diligence in collecting information and assessing risks. From second half of 2023, from the second half of 2023 through 2024, EUDR-related developments include the following. In support of EUDR implementation, by the end of 2023, European Commission held 3 meetings of multi-stakeholders platform on protecting and restoring the world's forests. In September 2024, EC disclosed the EU customs tariff data created for regulation at customs. On the 2nd October 2024, EC published a stronger international cooperation framework, also proposed to give concerned parties additional time to prepare the application of EUDR. Also, on the 2nd October 2024, EC published methodology principles for EUDR benchmarking exercise, serving to classify countries as low, standard, or high risk. On 14th November 2024, the EU Parliament approved postponing the application date of EUDR by 1 year, with large business will apply on December 30, 2025, and SMEs will start from 6 months later. Also adopted a new country category of no risk, in addition to existing 3 categories, low, standard, and high risks. The Commission will have to finalize a country benchmarking system in the middle 2025. Please let me move to U.S. Landscape Act regarding the Phase 7 of Landscape Act Declaration. The USDA APHIS announced enforcement will begin from the 1st December 2024, the day before yesterday. Phase 7 includes a broad range of items covering products of 26 HTS chapters. We require all remaining plant product HTS codes that are not 100% composite materials. There are two types of penalties, civil and criminal, for violations. Penalties will be based on level of knowledge about illegal origin. About U.S. Forest Act, the first draft Forest Act legislation was introduced in U.S. Senate in October 2021. On the 1st December 2023, the U.S. Congress, both Senate and House of Representatives, reintroduced the act as the Forest Act 2023. This act prohibits the imports from illegally deforested land and requires importers for high-risk deforestation products to certify they have mitigated the risks. The initial list includes palm oil, soybeans, coca, cattle, and rubbers. So, move to Australia Illegal Logging Prohibition Act. The Australia Act Regulations 2023 was amended in March 2023 and came into force on 13 August 2023 to reflect updates of the so-called CSG, that's country-specific guidelines, and SSGs, that's state-specific guidelines. So from 2023 to 2024, to mid-2024, the authority developed a new guidance and testing technologies to help importers and processors to understand and meet their due diligence requirements. In September 2024, the Amendment Bill 2024 was passed by the Australia Parliament. About Japan Clean Wood Act, it was revised on the 8th May 2023 and will come into force on April 1st, 2025. In March 2024, JFA, Japan First Agency, established an expert committee to promote legally harvested timber. And in September 2024, JFA released the guidelines for due diligence system. The Korean Revised Sustainable Use of Timber Act was partially revised in January 2024 and came into force in July 2024. The Korean government developed around 50 country-specific guidelines providing information of those exporting countries. For Vietnam Timber Legality Assurance System, VNTLAS, in September 2024, some articles were amended and took effect on the 15th November 2024 to establish a risk-based regulations approach. There's no significant development about Chinese first law amendments, especially for Article 65. The revision, the public consultation for revision is still in progress. Last but not least, about international legal instruments of CITES. CITES now is between the two COPs, COP 19 and 20. In November 2023, the 77th CITES Standing Committee was held on compliance with wildlife trade rules, including high-value timber, following CITES COP19. And e-CITES systems have been promoted with 31 parties partially implemented and 12 parties in strategic planning stage. In September 2024, the first ever CITES training workshop for African region on combating illegal trade was held in Zambia. And in October, CITES announced Uzbekistan will host COP20 in 2025. So those are the updates of the market access. Mr. Chair, please let me move to the forest and timber certification updates. These updates covers the time frame from 2023 to mid-2024. I would update information on the following forest timber certification for ITTO producing members. As of mid-2024, total certified forest area, FSC plus PEFC, of ITTO producers was 42.8 million hectares, accounted 9.4% of the world total, and chain of custody certification reached 7,674 certificates, which is more than 10% of the world total. It should be noted that both FSC and PEFC, which experienced a significant decrease in 2022 due to certification suspension of conflict areas, now became stabilized. Like previous years, two international certification systems, FSC and PEFC, continue to be the main schemes in ITTO producing members. And PEFC remained as the largest certification scheme, was 65% in the world, while FSC accounted more share with nearly 56.6% of certified forest in ITTO producing countries. The facts and figures of 2024 of FSC shows that FSC certified forest areas in ITTO producers 24.2 million hectares was a 5.6% increase, accounted 15% of global FSC certification. And this significant 8% increase comparing with the end of 2022 was due to decrease of world caused by certification suspension of conflict areas. Again, top three ITTO producers, Brazil, Indonesia, and Congo, contributed 2/3 of total. For FSC chain of custodies in producing country, there were 6,959 certificates, with a 27% increase due to outbreak of India. So top 3 members are Vietnam, India, and Brazil. Those 3 countries occupied 72% of total ITTO producers. A number of events were organized by FAC. A high-level event on EUDR gel location requirement in April 2023 in Brussels. Amazon Business Encounter in November 2023 in Brazil, updates on the changes in the EU market. And the Asia Business Encounter in December 2023 is an online event for wood furniture supply from Vietnam to North America. FAC attended the Carrefour International Wood Forum in May 2024 in France, the 26th Airflow meeting conference in June 2024 in Sweden, and the STF 2024 in September in Macau. Let me move to PEFC. As of mid-2024, PEFC certified 18.6 million hectare forest areas in ITTO producing members, was an increase of 2.9 million hectare, 18% increase, accounted 6.3% of global PEFC figure, 1% up. This was also due to certification suspension of conflict areas. 7 ITTO producing members have PEFC certified areas: Malaysia, Brazil, Indonesia, Gabon, India, Vietnam, and Thailand. PEFC certified forest areas worldwide grew by 8.8 million hectares since end of 2022. 3 ITTO producers, Malaysia, Brazil, and Indonesia, contributed significant increase, almost 1/3 of 2.9 million hectares. The PEFC chain of custody in ITTO producers had 715 certificates, marked a 31% increase and 5.5 of the world FSC COC. Top 3 ITTO producers, Malaysia, Vietnam, Indonesia, occupied 74% of total of ITTO producing members. Notably, Vietnam increased 150%. PEFC also organized the following activities. The 28th PEFC General Assembly held in May 2023 in Canada approved the PEFC Alliance 2030 strategy. A priority in 2023 and 2024 for PEFC is to align standards with the EUDR requirements. In June 2024, Guyana achieved the PEFC endorsement as the 49th country in PEFC. This is the list of PEFC endorsed the national certification scheme. We will see those countries in black color. That's the countries, 7 countries with not only with endorsement, but also have certified forest areas. And the 3, Cameroon, Congo, and Guyana, are still waiting for the future certified areas. and 2 non-endorsed members, but members of PEFC, as Ghana and Myanmar. Thank you very much. That's all for the updates. Thank you.
Comentarios.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments? Are there any questions regarding the presentation? None. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, there is a question. Please go ahead. You have the floor.
Merci au présentateur pour.
I would like to thank our presenter for this very important data. I'm from Côte d'Ivoire, and I would like to add some information. I think that regarding the FLEC process, Côte d'Ivoire has signed the voluntary partnership agreement in February 2024, and this agreement has been ratified by the European Parliament in April 2024 and also by the Ivorian Parliament in September 2024. Within this under this agreement, we are trying to finalize our national system for traceability and legality. It's a very important ambition for our country because the EUDR recognizes that timber which is covered by a FLECT agreement is already in accordance with legality requirements. So this is the additional information I wanted to provide to your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Representative from Côte d'Ivoire. Anybody else would like to comment or answer? New Zealand.
Thank you, Chair. New Zealand would just like to provide an update. The New Zealand government has been progressing work to strengthen the integrity of the forestry and wood processing supply chain through developing a legal harvest system. This legal harvest assurance system will help reduce illegal logging, help facilitate exporters to sell timber overseas, reduce the risk of timber being illegally harvested, and help to ensure that timber products imported into New Zealand come from legally harvested forests. From the 29th of November 2024 to the 28th of February 2025, we are seeking feedback on regulatory proposals built on the feedback we have received earlier on issues papers in 2024. These regulations will provide clarity on obligations such as information, record keeping, and reporting requirements. We also expect that the WTO TBT notification will be available publicly this week and will be open for comment for 60 days. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, Nueva Zelanda.
Thank you, New Zealand. I think these are all the questions. Many thanks to the presenter.
Sí, Malaysia.
Malaysia, please, you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, Malaysia would like to update. As of October 2024, a total of 6.4 million hectares of natural forest and 148,000 hectares of forest plantation in Malaysia has been certified under the Malaysia Timber Certification Scheme, MTCS. Additionally, 369 companies currently hold chains of custody certification under the MTCS, reflecting the Malaysian steadfast dedication to sustainable forest management and responsible timber practices. On another note, Malaysia recognized the importance of collaboration between APEC's expert group on illegal logging and associated trade, IGILAT, and the ITTO as well as other international bodies, to promote sustainable tropical forest management and expand the international tropical timber trade. Malaysia's role is further emphasized by the Chief Executive Officer of the Malaysia Timber Council, serving as the current EGLAC Chair, reflecting strong commitment to fostering international cooperation. Malaysia also has actively participated in Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the supporting the establishment and operation of the GTI platform for building legal and sustainable forest product supply chain program as part of the Legal and Sustainable Supply Chains initiative. More recently, Malaysia has agreed to continue for the Phase 3 of this initiative. We believe that this program will strengthen the competitiveness of Malaysian timber industry globally and open new market for tropical wood products in countries that prioritize sustainability and legality standards. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much, Malaysia. Papua New Guinea, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. First, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the ITTO Secretariat for giving us an update on illegal logging and forest certification and all those related activities that are taking place throughout the world. We really appreciate that. On the part of Papua New Guinea, we have actually undertaken the forest law enforcement and governance project back in 2010, 2011, and it has actually taken us many years to come up with a timber legality standard, which I'm reporting to the ITTO now. So that standard has been approved by the government, and it is being piloted in a number of timber concession areas, and the piloting was, or auditing was done by international certification bodies. The reports of that will be presented in January, February next year through a stakeholder workshop. Following that, we are looking forward to have timber legality verification standard through a project funded by the EU FCCB branch on timber legality verification system that will now strengthen the TLS, moving towards forest certification in Papua New Guinea. For Papua New Guinea, a number of timber companies have already certified. I cannot report on the number of hectares, but three companies who are plantation companies have actually have been certified. So that's about it that I would like to report on that. Another point that I would like to report to the meeting here is that a couple of the projects that have actually started by ITTO, which includes the timber legality standard project under the forest governance, that has now been taken on board by other development partners to further the project. And I think this is a good sign that we see that development partners are coming in to further the project that has been established by ITTO. So I'd like to report the meeting on that. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Papua New Guinea. Panama, you have the floor. Thank you, Secretariat. I would also like to thank you for the report we have just listened to. And I have a question. Understanding that Panama has 65% territory covered by forests, and that we also have plantations for commercial purposes. From these 40,000, we have FSC certification, but Panama, as a producer country, even if we do have a traceability system financed with different phases by projects of the organization, right now we want to extend the traceability system, but we are still not sure if our activity or if this initiative is going to be able to respond to the European Union regulation. So as a producer country, I would like to ask that through the organization, through the Secretariat, we create an exchange so that they can clarify to the producer countries how this new regulation is going to be applied, what are going to be the processes, so that us, producer countries, can respond to this with our own systems, with our own legal frameworks, with our own processes and our own systems, which we are developing right now. And I would also like to make the most of this opportunity to say that we want to work within this framework. Many thanks for all of this.
Muchísimas gracias, Panamá.
Thank you, Panama.
Sorry.
Me parece pertinente. Yo creo que en muchos de los países de la organización se han estado desarrollando.
Well, I know that a lot of countries are working on the management, forestry management in their communities. In the case of Panama, large areas have been certified with FSC certification. In Bolivia, however, there have been losses of certifications for several different reasons. So it's important for the organization to take account of this valuation, and we need to see, because of the experiences of these countries, we may have to undertake certain actions to strengthen and to see whether we can help these countries in this situation. Do you have any other comments related to this? Well, if there are no other comments, then the meeting is now concluded. Thank you, and we can give a round of applause to the presenter. Thank you, thank you.
Para un anuncio, invitamos a Gerard, por favor. Sorry, India tenía... Disculpes, India. Adelante. Indonesia. India e Indonesia. Disculpen.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Just I will update regarding the update for certification from India. We have come up with forest and wood certification scheme, December 2023. So it covers the natural forest, the trees outside the forest areas that is grown by the farmers, and custody chain. So that is update from the India. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, India. Indonesia.
Thank you, Chair. As you, Indonesia also would like to update the certification system in Indonesia. As members may already know, Indonesia has a mandatory national system for the certification of forest known as the Timber Legality and Sustainability System. And currently, approximately 12.9 million hectares of natural production forests have been certified under the system. We call it SVLK, and along with the 7 million hectares of plantation forest and 3.2 million hectares of private forests. And in line with the continuous improvement efforts, Indonesia has enhanced the SVLK with traceability capabilities under a new branding, SVLK Plus, to further strengthen the transparency, the accountability in forest management and timber legality. Additionally, Indonesia has made information on deforestation publicly accessible through a dedicated map available online called Simontana, a national forest monitoring system that utilizes remote sensing and terrestrial data to provide accurate, transparent, integrated, and up-to-date forest information and changes in Indonesia. Thank you, Chair.
Muchísimas gracias, Indonesia.
Thank you.
I will get a response to some of the comments, especially for improvement of certification. As far as I remember, that there are a number of projects and activities in ITTO in improving the member countries, especially for those producers, to improve their certification system. Given the facts that we have less and less projects, I think from the point of view of ITTO, we hope that donors can provide funding for the improvement of certification system for those member countries, especially for those ITTO producing countries. That's the wish of ITTO together with our member countries. Another information I need to add is about Ghana. Ghana Flag Tea has set June 30 as the date to deliver the first consignment of Flag Tea licensed timber. And this was confined during the EU-Ghana joint monitoring and review mechanism held on 7 November 2024. And this will be the first in Africa and the second in the world. I add this information for record. Thank you very much. And thank you, Chair. Thank you all.
Muchísimas gracias. Creo que es importante.
Yes, that's really important from Ghana. Gerard, you have the floor. I think you want to make an announcement?
Ladies and gentlemen, before we go into the lunch break, we would like to invite you to stay in the room for a short signing ceremony for a project in Sarawak. So the State Minister of Sarawak and the Executive Director will come to the podium, sign the project. And if you are willing, please stay in the room for that ceremony. It will be very short. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Chair. Vamos a hacer una corrección. Nos falta un tema antes de salir a la pausa y de la firma. Pedimos disculpas.